How many of you attended Winterfest last month? All right, it was a pretty good show, wasn't it? Took a lot of work to put that on. We're going to hear this evening about a ham fest that takes place out in Ohio every year that's on a slightly different scale than Winterfest, to the tune of about 10 to 15 times as many attendees. It's the largest ham fest in the country and one of the top three, I believe, in the world. We'll find out more about how accurate my numbers are in just a couple of minutes. But let me introduce Michael Kalter, WHCI. He's a longtime member of the DARA board and currently is the spokesperson for the Dayton Hamvention. So, without further ado or any sidelines here, let's have Michael Calter take the stage.
I'm really honored to get to speak, and things are getting busier and busier all the time for us as that little thing called Hamvention comes up. Last year, the attendance was 36,814, which is a pretty good number. And I have attended Japan a few times and Germany several times, the other two big ones in the world. Well, Hamcation, I go to that every year. That's a very nice event, too. And I think any amateur radio ham fest or gathering is a great event. At our club, we don't measure it like it has to be the biggest or the brightest or whatever. We just like to try to have a really good event for amateur radio, and we consider our event kind of a pillar where people come in literally from all over the world, and I've made friends from all over the world based on people that come in there and get to meet. And also, let me congratulate you. I think it was 2021. You were the Hamvention Club of the Year, which is a pretty big deal. And I think a few of you came to that, but that's a pretty stiff, tough competition. And you guys winning that is was a fabulous thing. This year, it's the Long Island CW Club, and one of the main things we look at, and when we decide who the winner is, and as a matter of fact, I'm the chairman of that committee, is that how active is the club? How many different check marks do they accomplish? They don't have to be the biggest club or the smartest club. What are they really doing for the furtherance of amateur radio in their community? And I've been pretty amazed at what you guys do. A little side story. A few years ago, I have a daughter who's she has her PhD in nurse practicing, and she works in Herndon at urgent care. She loves that stuff. She's very good at it, and so we were going to go to this park and watch my grandson play soccer, and we did that. And I was looking out of the corner of my eye, and the other end of the park was a whole bunch of antennas and things like that were going up, and people were getting ready to eat some really great food. That's an important thing in amateur radio, I think, is eating good food. But lo and behold, it was your club, and I was even more impressed. I only said hello for a minute, but I was very impressed. I think I took a few pictures. So anyway, congratulations again on your club winning Club of the Year. Like I said, that's competition from all over the world. I want to show you a few pictures here and maybe a few things about Hamvention. This is a sampling from 1957. We actually started Hamvention in 1952. That was our first year. And the first several years it was held at this place called the Dayton Biltmore Hotel, which is still, it is still in business. I think it's kind of a seedy place now, but it's still there. And this is our first program, and I think it's about 6 or 8 pages. There's a picture of it there. And Bob Heil tells me, and I wasn't old enough to go to that one, and Bob Heil told me stories about the very first ones that he went to, and there would be fist fights and people would get upset, but at the same time, there was the great thing, the thing that actually made Dayton great was the fact that it was we were really good on our forums. We did this in conjunction with a place in Dayton called the Dayton Engineers Club, and it's a very, very nice place. We'd have meetings there too. If you notice in a few of these pictures as I roll through here, you'll see, the different gatherings, and I don't know everything about this, but it's interesting. These are the people whose shoulders that I stand on now to keep this thing going, and they would always dress to the nines. I'm telling you, always dress well, and you'll see some equipment there. A lot of you may still see some of this equipment in our flea markets and in flea markets everywhere. So. And I've researched some of these old call signs that are here. And there were a fair amount of women who were involved with this event back then. But you can see, guys wore coats and things, and a lot of them coats and ties. There's a, a very crowded section there of some booths inside. And you can see these guys all dressed up. I can't imagine how hot it was inside of that building, but you had to look nice for Hamvention back then. We kind of relaxed those rules, I think. So, you see, I guess a Heath kit in the back there that they're selling, but not much to say there. I'll just let it go. Here's some stuff you guys probably have. Isn't that beautiful? Wow. Old night kit. My very first radio that I built, and it was 1963, and I was 12 years old, about to turn 13. I had a paper out, and I saved my money and bought an R55A receiver night kit. And boy, that was one of the most amazing summers I ever had putting that thing together. And I went pretty fast in putting it together, but it didn't work right. I could barely hear anything. So I found out there was an amateur radio club in my community and where I was living outside of Dayton in an area called Kettering, Ohio. And my dad, he hated radio. He wanted me to be a tool maker. He didn't like all that electronic stuff and radios. And so I went to this meeting, and I ended up I guess I was a sucker because they said, hey, we're going to make you the equipment chairman. So I said, okay, that's great. And I thought I'd be like one of the guys then. So a guy brought me home, and I had a car full of, I don't even know what the equipment was. It was a lot of junk, and loaded up my father's basement. And I thought it was pretty cool, and my father hated it. So eventually, he got rid of it all. I think he called the guys, and he forbid me to go back. But I did make a really good friend there. He was a year or so older than me, and I invited him over to the house, and I said, hey, I need some help getting this radio going. And so he came over, and his mother brought him over, waited in the car. I didn't know she was out there. He just told me this. And so he came in, and he fixed all these cold solder joints. I didn't know what a cold solder joint was. I didn't have a mentor back then. I was just, probably like a lot of us when we were kids, we were kind of winging it back then. We got that thing going, but I thought a lot about this guy and what happened to him, and I looked him up, and I finally found him on QRZ and sent him an email. I said, hey, you might not remember me, but here's a story. And he said, I do remember you. And he ended up being the CEO for R.L. Drake Company down in Miamisburg, Ohio. And so every once in a while we'll get together and have coffee. But that was a pretty amazing relationship that he helped me out. And to this day, I'm really grateful for that. And the R55 got thrown away by my father, and I ended up finding another one on eBay. And so I have an R55. And it's basically just to remember, it's kind of a nostalgic thing. And we probably all have nostalgic radios. And here's another view of this lady selling more equipment. It's like equipment that I still see at the flea market. And boy, there's some beautiful stuff there. Anyway, this is an interesting picture. Give you a minute to figure this out, what they're about ready to do. and I think you can figure it out. This is an original fox hunt, one of the early ones in 1957. And if you look there, these kids are all, dressed to the nines, ready to go, got their equipment, and it was very exciting. So, Dayton Amateur Radio Association was mentoring youth, way back then too. So we're really proud of that. Neat picture. I don't know what this guy's trying to do. I think he's trying to see if he can, if that's an antenna or what he's trying to do. He's trying to be part of the antenna, but it's pretty neat. So, and the sign at the top, you can barely make it out. I have a better picture later. It's the ARRL National Convention. Was in 1957. I think it was the ninth one. And when we would have the forums, which was a big thing back then, we'd go back and forth. And the Engineers Club was still is within walking distance of the Biltmore Hotel. You can see they all dress pretty nicely for this. It just amazes me. A little bit different today. And there's a picture. That's the I don't know, what does that say? I think I got a close-up of it. You can see that's the DX Forum, the DXC Sears. That's the 1957 Dayton Hamvention. And I've tried to zoom in on some of the call signs, but I didn't know any of these guys. In 1957, I was, let me verbally carbon date myself, I was 6 years old then. And like I said, women were very active in amateur radio back then. And I think the YL group was met there. There they are. And a few years ago, the YLRL group won the Club of the Year award. And we were very excited that they won that. And they applied, and they're still thriving a lot. And I don't know if any of you have wives that are in amateur radio, have their license. My wife does. She's not here right now, so she can't hear me. But the thing of it is, I try really hard to keep her active in it. But it's hard for me to keep her active in it because I tend to be a micromanager, and so I've asked for help from the YLRL group on how to not be a micromanager. But moving on from that, and we still have the awards banquet. We can't afford anymore to pay for hundreds of people. Although I know in the past we had tickets and things to it, but we still would lose money. We'd have big groups there. We had the Smothers Brothers in. We've had other big music groups who have played there and been part of this. But real nice banquet that we still have, and we invite 100 people. And those of you who have been there to it when your club was honored know that it's a pretty nice deal, and we do dress nice for it, and we eat well. Now I don't know who this guy was. I thought maybe it was Gordy, but I wasn't sure, and I wasn't sure if that was a Heil microphone. But at any rate, kind of a younger guy there and working the crowd. And if any of you know these people, I'd like to know who they are. And that guy looks pretty dignified. I'm not sure what he was doing, but he looks dignified. Anyway, another picture of the group. Then we get to today, and this isn't even all the buildings. These are very large buildings, and we hold Hamvention, and way in the back, you'll see, if you look way back to the top left-hand part of the screen, you'll see that's where a whole lot of parking is, and it goes way back to way around the corner. And we worked really hard on trying to park people quickly. You see that the bigger buildings are to the top right. See the three big buildings, and then you got more buildings down below. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but my cursor is on the main forums building. We have two big forum rooms in there. Big forum room. I'm sorry?
We can see it.
Okay, good. And then here is another, we have a forum room in this one. We have in this room here is this building is a whole lot of exhibits and a whole lot of exhibits in this building. And you can see the three biggies that are here. And then a few years we had big tents out front. We still have tents, but we don't have them in a parking lot any longer. We had to, in order to minimize the tents, and the tents cost us a lot of money. We had a lot of, I would say, groups coming in there, and we wouldn't charge them anything, and we got to counting those up, and unfortunately we had to start charging them. Not everybody, and we give clubs a discount there too. But the flea market itself is huge. Now, have many of you been there? I hope you have. And if not, here's another reason to come. This center area right here is, we have a whole lot of food trucks. You can barely make them out for the crowd. And at Hera Arena, when we had Hamvention, well, I'll tell you what, we would get gouged on our food and drink, and we control that now. The fairgrounds can choose the food trucks that come in, but we get the final say. And if they if they charge more than $2 for a bottle of water, we ask them to shut down immediately and leave, because we want to be fair to our visitors. And they were charging that 1 year $5 a bottle, so we found out about that and we put the squash on it. But thank goodness for food trucks, a big thing in Southern Ohio. So and we're really happy with that. But the smell in there, it's just so wonderful. I mean, there's all kind of food. And I know that those of you who've been there know exactly what I'm talking about. Inside the buildings themselves, we have nice wide aisles, and I'll get to that in a minute. Here is a picture of the flea market. It's kind of getting set up there. That is deceivingly, that picture's a little bit deceiving. That is a huge flea market. I know I cut the grass in there. I've helped lay the gravel and roll it, so we had a lot better roads through there now, back and forth. And we're putting in, we've got a rest area in there, a little place where people can sit down and take a break. We've more strategically placed porta-johns in there. And for the first time this year, we're going to have porta-johns for women, so that maybe they can, for whatever reason, they think it's a little cleaner. Could be. And at the top left, that just begins to be part of the camping area. And if you're lucky enough to get a campsite there, it's pretty amazing to be able to camp there and stay there. You can see that this is some of the buildings I was talking about from the other side. So it's a lot of walking, and we're going to go the wrong way. And we have a real international reach, and I know you're a club member, Bill Mims. Was it W2WCM, I think is his called. And occasionally when I get over there to Herndon and see my daughter when she's in town, her husband works for the State Department, and sometimes they live in other parts of the world, in the country, and she's headed back there soon. But at any rate, Bill is now a very active member with us, not a member, but a volunteer, and he works for the International Relations Group. And we have a big reception at a couple of days before Hamvention, where we have finger foods and things like that, and really greet everybody that comes in. So going the wrong way there. Another picture of some of those buildings and the flea market. And we still do have some tents up, but not as many as we used to have. Now, that's the line from the parking lot waiting to come in. This is right before it opens, and it is massive. So it's really a good idea if you come down. We move people through pretty quick. We just can't let everybody in there immediately, but we do move people through there pretty quickly. But people like to get there lined up, and we try to. We're going to have coffee out there. We're going to sell coffee and things like that for the people that like to wait out there. But buses will be coming in and out, and that's where everybody comes in. And we have golf carts that would take you out to your car, and so you got to remember where you park to help the golf cart driver. So at any rate, that's a pretty massive group. Tickets, you can buy your tickets right up. You see on the left of the screen there, there's places you can buy tickets, or if you're at will call, you can pick them up there too. And you can actually pick them up there on a Thursday if you get into town. So that's kind of inside. I know it's, for those of you who've been there know it can be crowded, but the aisles are very, very wide, so you can move through there a lot easier than at Hera. And it doesn't have Hera always had a kind of a smell to it. And we really, we demanded that, and we actually pay extra money to be sure that restrooms and porta johns are absolutely cleaned all the time. So that's myself. I'm giving an award to Joe, and he won Ham of the Year. He invented FT8. Good guy. Let's see what I got another few more slides to show you. One of the things that people ask us about the Dayton Amateur Radio Association, and I always like to talk about this, and we have worked on our mission statement, and when we plan things, and so we don't get too scattered on things, we want to make sure that what we do matches our mission and vision. So we moved from the Biltmore Hotel to Hera Arena around 1964. And we had in the 80s, we started having some pretty big attendance. And now last year, like I mentioned, it was 36,814. And, there's a lot of different ways to count attendance. I know in Japan, the way they count it is if you've ever been to Japan, it's in a huge building. A huge building. They can have like 2 or 3 events the size of their Japanese Hamfest in the building at the same time. And you go up an escalator, and when you get to the top of the escalator, there's some guys there with counters, and they just click you as you pass by. But if you go downstairs to get something to eat or go outside or do a smoke break, and you come back in, they click it again. And they click it, and they add, the number is cumulative, where ours is tickets, and it's a little different. I'm not taking away from their event. It's a wonderful event. It's different from ours. But I'll tell you, if you ever get a chance to go to Friedrichshafen in Germany, it's not as big, but it is really wonderful. It's clubs from all over Europe and all over the Middle East that come. And I really enjoy meeting the people there and finding out what they're doing. But I mean, they have the Yezu and the ICOMs and are all there, but not to the size they are at Hamvention. Okay, moving through it. As we really grew, the 60s, what an exciting time. At least I thought it was. It ushered in the newer technology, and I get a kick out of this. We became known as the Mecca of amateur radio, whereas ARL always considered themselves headquarters, but we'd rather be more of a Mecca than headquarters anyway. So, but why did people attend, and what was the draw? And the draw was, people love to see the new gear. People really do like the forums. And we fill our forums up. And I really think we got a great lineup of forums this year. And it's posted now on our website, which is www.hamvention.org. And we got some pretty amazing stuff going on. And we have to turn away a lot of top-notch people just because we just don't have enough time and enough forum space. And we have 4 forums going, and from 9:15 a.m. and we open at 9 until we close at 5 every day. And I will say that there are also all kind of evening activities that are going on most of the week of Hamvention. There's 4 days of May, which is big. Tim Duffy puts on the Contest University on Thursday, and there's a whole lot of other dinners and things. We try to keep up with that on our website. If somebody has something going on and they're meeting somewhere, we want to post it so everybody can connect. But the evenings at Hamvention are to me are almost exciting as Hamvention itself. With the different dinners and meetings. So, like I say, if you've never been there, oh my gosh, you got to go. And I wrote down there about what is your best memory of Hamvention. And when I do a live meeting, I really like to ask that question and get some feedback, but really won't be able to. But I do want to mention this, that those of you who were there, right, what was it, 2000, is it 2012? No, 2011, we had that sewer line break. I was running Hamvention then, and it was a tough situation, but I just go by the quote that I have, or my motto is, you take a slamming and you keep on hamming. And that's what we did. We just got it cleaned up, got the place quartered off, but it was quite a quite a day. We knew Harrow was sinking, and before we moved, and we had a team of about 6 people that we worked about a year to try to find a new location. And I remember that it was so bad that Harrow was about, I think it was 2016, they were about to finally go under. The IRS was after them for money, back taxes, property. And I wrote a letter to our IRS representatives in the region, and I asked them to hold off on doing any more foreclosures of land or property at Harrow Arena until after the Hamvention was over, and they agreed to do that. So I was really happy about that. But Hamvention brings in about $35 to $40 million of revenue into the region when it goes on. And if you think about it, people that come there spend a lot of money, and they're staying places, and they're going out to eat for the most part. And so it's we get a little bit of respect from our government people. But I remember our first when we first opened up the Hamvention in Xenia. That's a scary thing, because Hamvention's been such a staple, such a place where everybody always thought about. Harrow Arena this, and going to somewhere new. There were a whole lot of comments that we were not going to be able to pull it off in the short 8 months that we had to do it, and the traffic would be horrible, and it would be the Armageddon of amateur radio. First day was pretty tough. Traffic was bad. If you were there, you remember it. But we had a sheriff, and the sheriff is a really good guy, and he said, "I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix it tomorrow," and he did. And we've never had, terrible. Of course, you're going to have traffic, but we've never had the terrible time that we had when it first started. And unfortunately, Gene Fisher, who was our sheriff then, passed away, had a heart attack. Just shocked us all. I put some new beams up at my house, and he came down and helped me with them, and I'd help him with his radio stuff. We didn't talk about police work. We talked about radio. He's very, very much missed. Anyway, another overhead picture, give you a little bit more idea of the massive place this is. I mentioned in the top there, all that's parking area, and on the left is all going to be flea market area there in that grassy area. And you can see that road that goes down through there, that's Fairgrounds Road. And the other good thing is that last year we had a lot of road construction going on and some of the highways coming into that, and we don't now. Another view of the flea market, and without the things in it, you can see it's a pretty big place. And so, every year we put money into making Hamvention quite the event. And out of our own funds, the very first year we put $250,000 of our money in it to help with required infrastructure to make sure that they had strong enough internet and things like that, which was expensive to make sure we had it, the lines coming in there and everything in the buildings. And we continue to negotiate with, we have the fire department we work with, so many local and county officials. That's a lot of my job is just taking care of all of that, all the security. And we really work hard from our shortcomings. It's the first year we had a lot of mud too, a lot of rain, and so we were thinking about how can we change that. So we tried to sell commemorative mud from the flea market. Nobody really wanted any. And then I wanted to set up a booth the next year so people could get boots before they go in there. I'm kind of kidding about that. We kidded about it, but at the same time, we roll that infield all the time, and it has a good drainage system in it, and we put those roads in. We spent quite a bit of our own money, for a 3-day event to get those flea market roads in pretty good shape. We also do a checkup at the end of every Hamvention where all the committee chairs get together. There's about 65 committees that we have. And we bring them in and ask them, hey, what do you think you could do better in your group? Don't tell me about somebody else's group. Tell me about your group. So what do we do with the money from Hamvention? We get asked that question a lot. Well, we've held our costs down. I know it may seem like $30. You buy your ticket early, you can get it for $30. It may seem like a lot of money, but it's nearly a 3-day event, and we have to make some money on this, but we give a lot of money away. We donate a lot of scholarships, especially youth organizations, and just recently, I work at the National Weather Service as a net control operator in Wilmington, and we cover the southern half of Ohio, northern Kentucky, and eastern Indiana, and we needed some new radios, so Dayton Amateur Radio Association, donated those. But we try to give back. It's not a matter of how much money does Darryl want to make from this. It's do we make enough money, and can we give back with that money? And do we have enough money for a rainy day? So that's what, of course, that's kind of a bad thing to say, because it always rains at Hamvention a little bit. So at any rate, we've talked about the food, we've talked about in the forum rooms, we keep improving, more airflow there, and there's an app you can get. You can, if you're coming, download the app. You'll be able to find it on the website. It gives you all the information of what's going on at Hamvention. You'll have, who all the vendors are. Matter of fact, it has a lot who's there at Hamvention, if your buddy's there or not. I think it has a little messaging thing in it too, where you can send do a text message. It has all of the forums in there and maps and things like that. So anyway, that's very exciting things with Hamvention. And if you go, and like at any event, and I heard you guys talk about this at the beginning of your event tonight, it takes volunteers. It takes volunteers no matter what size you have, what you're doing. And it takes dedicated volunteers. And we operate on a key word in our club, and that's forgiveness. So if somebody screws up, you don't want to make a big deal of it, unless they really did it on purpose. But most people don't do that on purpose. So we work on forgiveness. And it really cuts down on the drama. And in a big organization, you can get a lot of drama. I watch some of the big organizations in amateur radio in this country deal with a lot of drama. You're not hearing it from us. And we just want to support amateur radio. Nobody makes any money off of this as a volunteer. Not me, nobody. And we take care of every aspect of it. We do hire Porta Johns, fire, EMS, and I go out and get the insurance, and I deal with the attorneys, things like that. But nobody gets paid, no stipends. So our theme this year is radio adventure. When you think about why do we have a theme, we want people to think about, what's the cool thing happening in amateur radio? And a lot of the vendors they will gear around our themes. And last year was radio independence. We like 2-word themes, get you thinking about it. But at the same time, radio independence, we want to be free of any other organization telling us how to do things or trying to take us over. We also, with Radio Adventure. It's with POTA coming on really strong. I thought I heard you guys say a couple of the new guys were interested in POTA and SOTA. Just what a great way to use amateur radio. I run an HF in my vehicle, my Suburban, and I love my Suburban. I heard you mention him, but I love my Suburban. And I run an 891 with a 100 amp hour battery in the back, so I don't have all that engine noise, and it just so quiet. But if I'm going up and down the highway, I get on there, and sometimes I just scroll up and down it and work the POTA stations and see how well my rig is doing. So I think this is just about at the end of it. We're moving from spark gap from vacuum tube to solid state SDR, and now we'll probably be moving into AI. And so I don't know what's the future of amateur radio, and I'd like to talk about that, but we don't have time here. And I really hope that all of you come and enjoy Hamvention. There's two kinds of people that come. There's people that come and they want to complain. Oh, it was so rainy. This was terrible. That was terrible. But then there's people that come, for the most part, and they take home a story. What if everything went perfect at Hamvention? You wouldn't have a story. It's like I've mentioned up there. For us, it's a labor of love. So I really appreciate everybody taking the time to listen to me, and thank a volunteer. And I hope to get to see you there at Hamventions. I hope that was for last year's. Last year was the RVRN, but we hope to see everybody there the 15th, 16th, and 17th. So thank you, and I'll take any questions.
Hi, Michael, and hi, everyone. My name's Tyler, NT1S. Thanks for presenting tonight. My question is, I'll be a first-time attendee at Hamvention coming up this May. Any tips for a brand new person going? What to see, what not to see, all that?
Boy, what a good question. I don't know if you watch any of the YouTubers. Most all the YouTubers come, and you'll see those guys walking around. I would say as a first-timer, download that app, look around where everything is, and make sure you circle the different events that you want to see. I know some guys, you'll laugh at this, they bring a backpack and they'll put a change of shoes and socks in there, mainly because there's so much walking. So make sure you're in shape, you have you can walk well. If you can't walk very well, we do have scooter rounds that you can rent, but it's exciting. And I don't know, are you going with anybody else? Anybody that's been there before?
Oh, somebody else from our group, yeah.
Good. So yeah, that'll be going to Hamvention this for the first time is like drinking out of the fire hose. So it still is for me. It's just unbelievable for me. I wish I had more time to walk around there.
On behalf of Vienna Wireless Society, I want to say thanks for joining us this evening. It was a fantastic talk. Many of us here are looking for ties so that next year at our Hamfest we can class things up a little bit.
Hey, did you guys notice my shirt?
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah. I look like you.